Hello, 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 and welcome to Taking Stock Live. Ooh, check the new shirt. LGTM, let's get this money. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, and it's my pleasure to be here with you yet another evening, coming to you live from FinCon 2022 in Orlando, Florida. Yes, you would notice I'm not in the studio tonight, not in my usual haunts, not in the usual location, but I'm very, very excited to be at FinCon 2022 this year. What is FinCon, you may ask? Well, it stands for Financial Conference, duh, but it's actually a place for financial content creators. So I'm in the perfect place, right? So it kicks off tomorrow, and I'm going to be here all week in Orlando. And then I have my presentation coming up on Saturday. And here's the flyer. How to take your YouTube side hustle to the next level. Yep, that's me presenting right here at FinCon. So if you're in the Florida area and this type of stuff interests you, it actually is not too late for you to sign up. You can go to their website, finconexpo.com, and register to attend. Use the code Kalilah10 to get a 10% discount on your tickets. And I'll see you, around the place, around the way. We'll have on our shirts, our LGTM black and gold shirts, limited edition. We also have another one that is similar in design to the black and white one that you just saw, except that it's black and gold. So yeah, these are not available for sale just yet, but I'll let you know when the pre-order drops. Raise your hand if you're interested in the new merch. LGTM, let's get this money. Let me know in the comments where you're joining us from. I see several people already dropping their location. If anybody's in Orlando, raise your hand as well and give you a special shout out when we begin. Also, of course, remember to head over to the website at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter to subscribe to the newsletter and get those IPO alerts, breaking money news, investment alerts, promo codes. There is a promotion going on right now on the Investing for Beginners Masterclass. It is a back-to-school promotion. You get 20% off with the code LUNCHMONEY, because we know that you don't spend everything that you have if you're a parent on the books, on the school fee, on the uniform, the shoes, all the extracurricular activities, and then you gave your last for that lunch money yesterday morning. So you need to start figuring out how to earn it back. Take the Investing for Beginners Masterclass at KalilahReynolds.com/masterclass and use the code LUNCHMONEY for 20% off, and that code expires tomorrow. So get on it. Do not let this opportunity pass you by. If you've been waiting for a while, then this is the time. Well, let's take a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business. JMMB Group is moving strong with new construction going up in Kingston and a major acquisition in the Caribbean. And they're reporting nearly $2 billion in net profit for the 3 months ended June 30, 2022. That's a 2% increase from the prior year. We'll learn more from JMMB Group's Chief Strategy Officer, Claudine Tracey, and the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. The U.S. Federal Reserve's inflation fight could bring pain and job losses for many Americans. The Dow Jones has erased a 370-point gain to trade lower for a third straight weekly loss. And we'll take a look at the Guyana Stock Exchange with a special guest analyst. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Local government officials in the U.S. have been scrambling to get rid of hundreds of unusable scooters and e-bikes left behind by the now-defunct Bolt Mobility, co-founded by Jamaican Olympian Usain Bolt. According to a report from the New York Post, Bolt Mobility went out of business in July after running out of funding. While Usain is listed as a co-founder, the Sprint star is said to have worked more as a spokesperson than a decision-maker. The scooters became useless and were abandoned on the streets because they had to be unlocked through the company's app. Former employees who spoke with the Post said the company did not pay them for their last month of work and were not communicating when they would receive payment. However, once the media got involved, payment was quickly made. The company also failed to notify the local governments of the towns it operated, forcing officials to decide how to remove the dozens of scooters now left unattached in warehouses and on the streets. Scotia Group Jamaica says its operations in Jamaica will not be affected by the sale of Scotia Insurance Caribbean to Grace Kennedy. GK recently confirmed that it has come to an agreement with the Bank of Nova Scotia to acquire 100% of Scotia Insurance Caribbean. SICL is a licensed life insurance company that provides services to Scotiabank clients in Barbados, Cayman, Turks and Caicos, Belize, and the British Virgin Islands. Scotia Group Jamaica said the transaction will have no impact on its local operations. As for GK, Group CEO Don Webby said the acquisition of SICL and the 5 territories where it operates will expand GK's life insurance business to 12 markets in less than 2 years. There were mixed reactions from KFC customers following last week's announcement that the fast food chain had dropped some of its prices by $5 Jamaican. That's just 3 cents US. Restaurants of Jamaica, which operates KFC in Jamaica, said it reduced prices on its chicken on the bone products to reflect the recent price cut from its chicken supplier, Jamaica Broilers. In August, JB said it would cut the price of a grade A whole bird and mixed parts by $12.50 per kilogram. KFC said it was passing on the entirety of the savings to customers. While some customers online championed the move as a step in the right direction, others complained that a $5 decrease is not enough. The dollar versus Access Financial battle is heating up. Reports surfaced last week that a senior executive from Access has been recruited by Dollar Financial. This comes just days after it was reported that Dollar may be headed for a hostile takeover of its much older competitor. Last month, Dollar wrote to Access's board of directors indicating that they were interested in exploring a takeover to acquire full control of the company. However, this proposal was reportedly shut down by Access's board. A hostile takeover would see Dollar going directly to Access's shareholders to acquire their shares. The government of Guyana says it now expects to earn $1.1 billion from the energy sector this year. According to the country's Ministry of Finance, that is 32.5% higher than its original projection at the start of the year. The ministry said the rising cost of crude oil due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict has increased the number of oil lifts from the country. From January to June, Guyana had 5 lifts of profit oil. Profit oil refers to the amount of money that a country collects out of the deduction of the cost of production. The government received $307 million as revenue from their share of profit oil and $37.1 million in royalties. The ministry said the total balance at the end of June, including interest income, was $753.3 million after withdrawal of $200 million in May. Shoppers in the U.S. are taking advantage of massive discounts as some stores try to get rid of their inventory. Retailers such as Walmart, Ulta Beauty, and Gap have had to drop prices to attract buyers. Many major chains have stockpiled way too much inventory in recent months to keep up with increased demand. However, with America's annual inflation rate now at 8.5%, consumers have started cutting back on buying items they don't need. Some stores say that inventory issues aren't their problem directly. However, many of their competitors are overstocked and have discounted items, forcing them to follow suit. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Is it just me or the Taking Stock music have a vibe? I'm always here jamming to it when we come back from the show. Welcome back to Taking Stock. Let me big up the people who are in the comments, especially the early birds. Rodcliffe Green was the first person online to leave a comment today. And he is there in Portmore. Big up yourself, Rodcliffe. I wanted to put you on the thing. Anyway, all right, let's move right along. Tavia D says, let's get this money. That's right. Stay it with me. Let's get this money. LGTM. Who else do we have? Kish is always with us from London. So big up yourself, Kish. And Kish says, JMMB is my go-to bank for investment. So happy to learn of their acquisition. So we're going to learn a lot more about that this evening. Dee Duncan is in the Bronx, New York, ready and waiting. Debbie is also in New York, ready for class. Natoya, shout out to you. Checking in from BIM, Barbados. She says, let's get this money. Landora is over in Negril. Jervis says, Kingston, the merch looks good. Glad you like it. Let me know if you want to pre-order. Should we put these out? I haven't really been selling much merch lately. I haven't really been, focusing on it. But guess what? Christmas is coming up. Want to buy something for somebody special. Mr. Layton is in BVI. Alex is all the way in Dubai. What time is it over there in Dubai, Alex? And then Robert says, the show must go on even if Kalilah's on the moon. I'm glad you know the things I do for you people, the things I do for love and for money, but mostly for love. Although I'm tired still, I should have begged Keisha to do this show for me. Keisha is actually in Kingston this week when I am off the island, so we just happen to miss each other, but we will chat later on in the Analyst. So we have a lot to talk about in this program this evening, and I'm super happy that you are able to join me and be a part of the show. So let's get it started with our discussion on JMMB. As you would have heard in our introduction, they are reporting an increase in net profits. How much is it? Almost $2 billion. Yep. $1.97 billion in net profits for the 3-month period ending June 30, 2022. That's a lot of money. That's a whole heap of money for 3 months, and that's profit, not revenue. And that's a 2% increase over the prior year. I've been hearing about their new diversification strategy. Maybe it's not so new, but they have a diversification strategy. I've been seeing construction going on in Kingston, and I want to hear all about it. And so we invite at this time JMMB Group's Chief Strategy Officer, Claudine Tracey. And we also have the Country Chief Financial Officer for Jamaica, Kashwayne Bryson. Welcome, Claudine. Welcome, Kashwayne.
All right, thank you.
It's great to have you guys on. Good to see you. Where are you this evening?
Kingston.
Kingston.
We're both in Kingston. All right, good. I love that we, are able to link up from anywhere in the world. The show must go on, as we have said. So let's talk about the regional diversification. Let's start there because I saw some news recently about the Dominican Republic and there was an acquisition in the DR. So Claudine, tell me what's the diversification strategy and what's the significance of this DR acquisition?
All right, great. You are right in the intro, Kalilah, that this diversification strategy isn't really new. It has been a very long-standing strategy for JMMB that has worked very, very, very well. And if you're a shareholder, you should be feeling it. And if you're a client, you should be also feeling it because the genesis of diversification is really around how can we build out a more fulsome product suite for our clients. We started 30 years ago, actually, as a broker-dealer in Jamaica. We disrupted the market, we brought fixed income instruments to the market, and in partnering with our clients at that time, we realized that, listen, we don't have a fulsome product set, we don't have a bank, we didn't have mutual funds at the time. So our first set of acquisitions was really to try to build out our product suite so that we could have what we call an integrated financial services model. And so starting from a company of one, as I said, 30 years ago to now, we have about 16 client-facing companies. We're in 3 countries. We have several business lines. And so diversification for us is at many levels, is at the business line level, banking, investments, and within investments from broker-dealer to mutual funds, pensions, etc., money transfer, remittances, insurance, brokerage. We even have a microfinance company, a consumer finance company in Trinidad and Tobago. So we are well diversified from a business line perspective and from a geographic perspective, just like your viewership right now, Kalilah, where you have persons for across the Caribbean, across the world, really. JMMB hasn't reached North America and Europe, etc. yet. But
so the beach has taken stock is in Dubai.
I saw that comment. One day, who knows? But definitely from a regional Caribbean perspective, we are deepening our diversification. And even in terms of how we look on profit, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into this at this point, but in terms of how we diversified our profits through strategic investments like that big giant Sagicor Financial Company acquisition that we did in 2018. So we look on diversification from many angles. The recent acquisition that you mentioned, Kalilah, in the DR. So the DR is a very special market for us, right? We started in the DR in 2007, I believe. Just like in Jamaica, we started as an investor, a broker-dealer, when we started the Presa de Bolsa. And again, through a series of acquisitions and startups, we have pensions, we have mutual funds. We had a savings and loan bank in the DR since about 2008, thereabout. But it was not a commercial bank. So we were eager looking out for opportunities for the acquisition of a commercial bank so that we could deepen again the product suite for our clients, and we could offer things like credit card and other commercial banking products to our clients. So this recent acquisition, Bell Bank, we have received approval from the DR regulators, the Monetary Authority, and it now allows us to have a commercial bank in the Dominican Republic. It allows us now to merge that commercial bank with our savings and loan bank. And so it really deepens our footprint in the Dominican Republic market, which, as you know, is a large market, very lucrative. And when Kashwayne gets into the numbers, you will see just how lucrative that market has been for us. So very excited about this acquisition. We believe that it will redound to value for our shareholders. So again, you want to make that money, buy some JMMB stocks now.
Well, this may be a great time to bring in Kashwayne. Kashwayne, how you have the perfect name? Like your mama knew from in the womb.
That's my dad. That's all my dad. That's all my dad. He has a dream that I'm going to work at JMMB and I'm going to be in the money market.
Your mama knew you would be in this industry. So Claudine mentioned that, the DR bank, the acquisition in the DR and your operations there in general have had a significant impact on your revenues and your profits. So tell me, what has that impact been?
Sure. DR have contributed for this quarter 25% of our revenue. This is driven mainly from the banking and also the managed funds. And going forward, we expect to continue in that positive trajectory, both the mutual funds, the banking, and our investment arm. So, but in terms of adding to the diversification, the Sagicor Group has provided us with, for the quarter, 1.26 billion. We have seen improvement in our key business line in Trinidad. So those are the main drivers in the numbers for the first quarter.
So we're looking at the Dominican Republic. You said 25%. You have your business line in Trinidad and Tobago. And number 3, you said was, remind me, what is the one again?
The Sagicor Financial Group.
Yes, the Sagicor Financial acquisition, which we're going to come to in just a minute as well, because that's also been obviously part of the strategy, the acquisition strategy. So the news broke last month about the acquisition of Bell Bank in the Dominican Republic. So that wouldn't be showing on these results just yet, right?
No, it's not reflected in these results, but come Q2, which we are expecting to see the integrated numbers between the commercial bank and the saving and loan bank in DR.
How big a bank is Bell Bank?
Claudine, you take that one.
Oh, sorry, it's muted. Sure. Bell Bank is really a tiny bank, Kalilah, to be very frank. And so you're talking about a client base of less than 10,000 persons. What it does for us is, again, gives us that commercial banking license. The value is in the license. It also gives us some strategic access to locations where our savings and loan bank was not present in. So it allows us to expand more in the DR. So tiny bank, small asset base, small clientele at this point, But when you now merge it with the power of our existing savings and loan bank, which, by the way, has been the fastest growing bank, whether savings and loan or commercial bank in the DR for about 2 to 3 years now. So we believe that there's a lot of synergies that can be brought to the table, and we can take that license and really transform the commercial bank, scale it, grow it, and deepen our success in that market.
Interesting. I love how you pointed out that the value is actually in the license. So they're a small bank, 10,000 customers. Where are they? In the capital, Santo Domingo?
They're in Santo Domingo, in the capital. And then they have presence in, well, I'm not sure how much, well, your viewers you probably have presence from Dominican Republic, and they have a location in Mega Central. So it gives us a reach where we weren't present, but their main office would have been in the capital, Santo Domingo.
And not only that, but presence in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean.
Correct.
Latin America.
Correct. And
Gateway
again,
to South America, Central America, because now you start having the Spanish-speaking expertise. Habla español, Claudine?
Poco? Actually, none at all. Let me not even say poco. None at all, really. I do try. But I mean, it just shows really the ambition of JMMB, because we went into the DR where none of us habla no español, and we built relationships and partnerships with DR shareholders. We have a lot of partners. Some of the DR entities are co-owned with strategic partners in the DR, and that has helped us to build our expertise in the Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America. And therefore, when we are looking for future acquisitions, as you rightfully said, we are eyeing like Central America, because we have some good experience now, and we are ready to expand in that particular market.
Right. And I'm sure that you saw the news last week about Dominican, or probably 2 weeks ago now, about the airline, the low budget airline that the Dominican Republic is launching to, bring additional, and they're going to be having direct flight to Kingston. So that's awesome. You get to go over to the DR much easier.
That is very awesome, because trust me, it was a hassle. You travel, you have to go to Miami or somewhere else, connect, etc. That free flow between Jamaica and DR is going to bring a lot of investments, and it's going to really bring a lot of business opportunities for the two countries. Incidentally, our chief country officer in the DR, he is the head of kind of the equivalent of not necessarily the private sector organization, but something similar. So he heads that in the DR, and he has been building a lot of relationships in Jamaica and expanding commerce between the two countries.
So Kashwayne, tell me about the second prong of your improved revenues, which is Sagicor. So your acquisition, you own, 20% in Sagicor?
23%, 23.3% as at June.
Yeah, so tell me about the impact of that investment, you being a major shareholder in Sagicor, and then now they have purchased Alliance, and we all know what's going on there.
Okay, so our interest is really at the Sagicor Group, not really Sagicor Jamaica. Sagicor Jamaica actually consolidating the Sagicor Group. In terms of our benefits from that investment, over the last 3 years, if you look at our financials, you'll see interest from associate, which have shown growth over the period. As I mentioned before, for this quarter is at 1.26 billion, which is roughly about 60% of our profit for this quarter. So Sagicor have been significant for us, and is a part of our strategic initiative initially to get this organic growth going forward. So this is something we always have in the back of our mind when we are actually doing this acquisition.
And Trinidad and Tobago is the third prong. What is making Trinidad and Tobago so lucrative right now? What's going on? People just start. Is it the investment arm or the banking arm that's doing very well in Trinidad?
It's actually both arms. It's both investment and banking. And Kashi, you can chip in with the numbers if you want. But that the diversification principle, Kalilah, I know it's something that you would have spoken on this program about before in terms of investment portfolio, and making sure you have a well diversified investment portfolio. You don't have all the proverbial eggs in one basket. That has worked so well for us, particularly in this very challenging market environment, this high interest rate, high inflation environment, which creates challenge for many industries, but including the financial service industries. We have seen where in Jamaica and the DR, our central banks have taken a contractual monetary policy stance. They've hiked interest rates significantly in short stints of time. And you would see the impact in real time. Impact, of course, it would have jacked up cost of funds on the liability side, and then clearly banks and FIs would have been forced to increase rates on loans, right? In a competitive market, you clearly see that there's challenges there, and there's challenges also on the investment side for banks. In Trinidad and Tobago, however, their market environment is much more stable. They have not had the strong inflationary pressures that we have seen in other regions, and the central bank response, therefore, has not been as aggressive. Trinidad is on a growth, and Tobago is on a growth path right now. And so what we have seen is that in this quarter, in Q1, the relative contribution of Trinidad and Tobago to overall group profitability has increased significantly, and it has allowed Trinidad and Tobago to buffer where other jurisdictions would have had challenges based on the operating environment. So can't have all the eggs in one basket. If one basket, not turnover, but it's a little trouble, your eggs are protected in other baskets, and TT has really done well for us in this quarter, and we expect it to continue. We've also had new appointments, management appointments in Trinidad and Tobago. We appointed a new bank CEO, Mr. Sean Moses. We also appointed a new head of client partnership, what we call client partnership, other banks would call sales. And the bench strength that they have brought has also added to the increased performance in that market. On the investment side, they have also performed extremely well. And I think I'd mentioned before, we have a consumer finance company in Trinidad and Tobago, what we would call microfinance in Jamaica. And that company has also performed extremely well.
So speaking of our neighbors in the Eastern Caribbean, any plans to enter Guyana? We do have a guest who's going to be joining us in the analyst segment to discuss the Guyana market.
I know I definitely need to stay on to hear what your guest has to say, We are interested in any Caribbean island that shows very strong growth potential. And so wherever we see potential and value for JMMB Group, its shareholders and our clients, then we are definitely interested there.
Okay, fair enough. Or country. Remember, Guyana is not an island. Me being from Belize, I always have to tell people Belize is not an island. I'm sure Guyanese get the same thing. So
yeah, and I don't want to start any wars in the comment section.
Yeah. What else I was going to ask you? So we have some questions from the audience, but I also need to ask you about what's going on here in Jamaica, because I see construction going on in the Ligani area, where you had that drive-through for a few years. I know it looked like it's going to be, well, it looked like 3 stories so far. I don't know if it's going further. And well, tell me what are your plans there?
All right. So we are expanding our branch footprint in Jamaica. I know that's probably sounds strange for banking in 2022. But it's actually an important part of our strategy.
Yes, because your competitors are reducing their banks. NCB Scotia closing branches. You're building new branches.
And for the reason, because our business model is very client-centric, and we empower our clients to choose how they want to interact with us. So simultaneously, while we are building out this new location in Ligani, we are also aggressively building out our digital strategy. And in fact, the Ligani branch will be a flagship branch that nicely blends the two experiences. So it's going to be different from what you would have experienced in other JMMB branches, but very much in keeping with our warm partnership atmosphere. In fact, we don't call them branches, we call them financial life goal centers. And you will have a nice blended modality of digital and face-to-face interactions in that location. So it's a very important and strategic location for us. So
And
look
when
out
is
for
that
that
expected to be complete?
by next year, next calendar
Early
year.
next year, late next year?
I'm gonna play it safe and say next year.
Okay, that's I see construction going on Waterloo Road as well, opposite Devon House. Is that you? I feel like I saw a JMMB sign, but I don't know if it was just project financing or if
It'll
that's
probably be
it.
project financing, more than likely project financing.
It is
Okay,
project financing.
Thanks.
okay, okay. I got excited. I saw JMMB. I'm like, wow, JMMB building next branch, Ligani branch, Waterloo branch. Wow. All right, but project financing, that's good too, because you're making some money there. Let's get to the questions from the viewers now. Levar wants to know, when can we expect JMMB to start offering consumer credit cards and small business loans?
Okay, very, very fair question. I knew this question would come. Let me start with the small business loans. Happily, we are definitely in the small business loans business already. We revamped our SME strategy about 3 to 4 years ago. Our branches are well equipped with business bankers, with SME relationship officers. We also have an SME resource center that supports SME not just with loans, but handholds them in terms of assessing the business, offering them support in accessing credit or equity or any other services to support their business growth. So definitely in the small business loan business, we're very competitive. We have a very fulsome product suite. And so to that viewer, definitely get in contact with your local branch or the call center, and we can get you set up as an SME relationship officer if it is that you have a small business and you want to grow it, whether by loan, equity, or other investments in your business. Credit card. All right, so we have been systematically rolling out products over the past few years. Credit card is definitely on the cards. We actually are in the credit cards and point of sale were two things that our clients, our business clients on the point of sale side, were really demanding from us. Thankfully, we are actually pilot testing our point of sale solutions right now, and that will be launched in this calendar year, full scale. So look out for that, e-commerce and point of sale solutions on the credit card side for our retail and business clients. We are working on that, and we should be launching our credit cards next calendar year. And I'm going to leave that calendar year as well. So
Okay, I will
coming
definitely look out for
up the
that.
pipe.
Yes, Kashwayne? You're going to add something, Kashwayne?
No, she has
Oh,
complete.
okay, good, good. Well, I'm definitely looking out for that new product coming next year. Next question comes, well, it's two questions. Two people have similar questions. O'Shane wants to know, JMMB, has the share buyback begun? And then Troyan saying something similar, asking something similar. Why isn't JMMB buying back shares since it's trading at the low $40 with an extremely low PE and for no fundamental reason? So there was an announcement that JMMB would be doing a share buyback. Has it begun?
So I'm gonna leave that to our able country CFO.
Okay. The board have given us the approval for the share buyback. However, the share buyback program is basically to utilize to enhance shareholders' value over time. So at present, we are looking at all the relevant factors such as the market condition, growth in the physical numbers, and to determine a timeline and the extent of the actual program. So before we actually do a share buyback, we'll have to make a disclosure to the market in a timely manner, and this will be communicated to the wider stakeholders. So I'm expecting I'll say by the end of the next financial year, we may do a share buyback, depends on the timing and also the market conditions. But I think come our AGM, we'll be able to provide some more information around the share buyback. Our AGM is actually the 22nd of this month.
All right, coming up in just a couple of weeks, and I'm sure some of the people who are watching right now are going to be attending your AGM. I said David Rose in the comments. David. All right. Next question comes from Dennis. Dennis Humes wants to know. I'm sure you guys get this question all the time. When is JMMB going to have an app? An app should be priority, especially to attract millennials and Gen Z. When's the Moneyline app coming?
Listen, this app is a long time coming. We admit it, right? But the real issue here is that we don't want to just offer a function. We want to offer an experience. And any digital product like an app that we roll out has to really be in keeping with the client experience that persons are accustomed to. And so we're spending a lot of time in ensuring that our persona and culture as a group translates to digital products like the app. We also are coming out with digital onboarding. And so when you interact with the technology, whether through a chat bot or an app or through digital onboarding, it should feel like you are having an experience with your JMMB financial partner. And so it's going through a lot of testing and a lot of tweaking to ensure that once we put it out, it's not just a function, it's not just another app, but it's something that is special, unique, and different and reflects the JMMB brand through and through.
Okay, so it is currently under development.
Yes, and it's coming out this financial year, this calendar year, this financial year. So before Christmas, you can get the app, and then you can go on the app and transfer funds and buy your Let's Get That Money t-shirt.
Let me delete something and make some space on my phone for the JMMB app. I have enough space. I can download the app. So yeah, I'll be looking out for the app when it comes. I want to thank you so much for joining us, Claudine and Kashwayne. You've given us a lot to think about and to look forward to from JMMB for this year and beyond.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Anytime, always got to show love to JMMB. As you guys show love to us, you show love to this show from day one. You have been one of the supporters of Taking Stock. So I big up JMMB every time. I have my small business accounts there, looking out for when they launch the credit card, the app, and all their new products. So I have a couple of comments here about it as well. Alex there in Dubai telling me that it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow, that's dedication. I don't know if you normally wake up at 5 or if you wake up just for me, but I would be honored to know that. I'd like to think that you wake up early just for me, just to watch Taking Stock live. Shane says, people not realizing how undervalued JMMB stock is right now. They're waiting until it runs to $100 before they jump in. And then Javon says, JMMB is a great bank for everyone, no matter the social class you fall into. The service is good for the most part, and their product diversity is one to envy. Now, let me remind you again to make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter, which is KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. There's another reason that I have to point this out and really emphasize the newsletter, because a particular somebody bad me up proper a couple of days ago saying, how come I did not tell him about the phosphorus rights issue, coming up? Like, how me have big news and me sit on kind of news and then tell him. I'm like, so you never watched the show? It's your fault for not watching the show. And then on top of that, we even wrote an article about it, which was posted on the website on Friday morning, and it went out in the email on Sunday as well, in the email newsletter. So if you didn't watch the show, you didn't have time to watch, you could also listen on the podcast while you're driving to work, while you're getting ready. And then if you still didn't catch it, you can get it in your email. So check the website on Friday mornings, the new articles go up. And then you have another opportunity on Sunday when the email goes out. So By Monday, you know what investment decisions you may want to make, because if you heard something in the show and it's reported in the newsletter, then that can help to guide you. So this person had 4 opportunities to get the information and still come rough me up. Now, this person is my husband. But still, he's like, but you, anyway, you need to watch the show, babe. That's all I can say right now. I can't remember every single thing to tell you, you know. And for the rest of you, you guys know, you know what time it is. Subscribe to the newsletter at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. Up next is your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Time now for your market recap. The JC Combined Index fell almost 2,000 points last week, or 0.5%. 125 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, September 2, 2022. 51 advanced, 60 declined, and 14 stayed the same. 250 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $3 billion. Phosphorus was last week's most traded stock, taking up 12% of market volume. People bought and sold 30 million shares in the company. The stock gained 42 cents to open this week at $4. Phosphorus CEO Cecil Foster told Taking Stock last week that the company will be announcing its rights issue and breaking ground on its 120,000 square foot superstore this month. Mailpack traded at the second highest volume, with people buying and selling 26 million shares in the company. The stock opened this week at $2.48. And Derrimon rounded out last week's most traded. The stock took up almost 6% of market volume, with nearly 15 million shares trading. Derrimon stock lost 15 cents to open this week at $2.18. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. The newly listed One-on-One Educational Services was last week's biggest gainer. The stock rose 73% from its listing price of $1 to close its first week at $1.73. 138 Student Living Variable Preference was the week's second biggest gainer, up 32% to open this week at $59.51. And rounding out our biggest gains, JMMB Group 5.75% USD is up almost 25% to open Monday at $2.17. On the losing side now, CAC 2000 was last week's biggest loser, down almost 27% to open Monday at $6.04. The stock was also the month's third biggest loser. And rounding out last week's biggest losers was Epley 7.5% preference shares due 2024. The stock lost $1.51 to close last week at $5.98. Now here's a look at some of the highlights for the month of August. The main index declined 4%. The junior market declined less than 1%. The financial index declined almost 5%, and the manufacturing and distribution index declined almost 4%. Consolidated Bakeries was August's biggest gainer. The stock opened the new month at $2.28 after gaining 60%. Everything Fresh was the month's second biggest gainer, up almost 49%. The stock gained 65 cents to open September at $1.98. And rounding out August's biggest gainers is Margaritaville Turks. The stock opened September at $26. On the losing side, First Rock Real Estate Investments USD was last month's biggest loser, down 38%. The stock opened this week at 4 cents US. JMMB Group 7% VRJMD CR preference shares was August's second biggest loser. The stock lost 33% to open September at $1.69. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index was mostly flat last week. JMMB Group was the most traded stock. It opened this week at $2.30 TT. Cinema One was the market's biggest gainer, up almost 14% to open this week at $6.80 TT. And on the losing side, Prestige Holdings fell 13% to open this week at $5.80 TT. In the US, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 fell almost 3% last week, while the Nasdaq lost more than 3%. Over at the pumps, motorists saw a dip in gas prices last week as the cost of gas fell by $4.50. However, diesel prices jumped another $4.50. Overall, gas prices fell for the month of August. 87 fell a total $7.70, while 90 fell $8.75. On the other hand, diesel prices rose for the month. Regular diesel rose $4.50 and ultra-low sulfur diesel climbed $8.75. In foreign exchange, it took an average $151.82 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 46 cents more than a week before. Overall, the Jamaican dollar strengthened for the month of August, gaining $2.32 to close the month at $151.60 for $1. And on the crypto markets, Bitcoin continued its downward trend on Monday, falling almost 2% in 5 days. The cryptocurrency was trading at $19,729 on Monday. Bitcoin fell 15% for the month of August. Ethereum, on the other hand, rose a slight 1% in the past 5 days after a 7% drop last week. The cryptocurrency was trading at $1,571 on Monday. Overall, it fell 9% for the month of August. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers.
All right, welcome back. Big up JMMB once again, our sponsor for this segment. We've got lots to talk about, but first let me take a few comments from the audience. Here we go. O'Shane said, look what taking stock did to Fosrich stock price. No good again. Philip said, tell Richie to do better. Richie, babe, you got to do better, man. You gotta watch the show. Even if it's delayed, he's gonna say that, he has the kids when I'm on the show, but you can always watch it tomorrow. Listen, tomorrow. Philip says that Cecil Foster interview has been heavily influential. Big up taking stock. Breaking money news. Fosrich equal Musrich. And then Natoya Dunn agreeing with him, saying taking stock influenced the stock price big time, which is why you must always be watching the show. And the earlier you watch it, if you can join us live, like those of you who are on now, puts you at an advantage because they have information before everybody else, for those who are, just get the news later on in the week when the news published in the papers, but you heard it here first on Taking Stock. Yeah. So we have a few things to talk about in this segment, which we call The Analyst. Let me introduce our panel for the evening. And no, I haven't even been keeping up with my script. Oh, before we do that, take our poll question. So tonight's poll question is about Dollar Financial. You may have been hearing the news about this potential acquisition or this intended hostile takeover. What do you think about Dollar's attempt at a hostile takeover of Access Financial? How do you feel about that? 1 or A, I don't like the hostility. B, yes, do it. Go on, do it. C, it won't make a difference. D, I don't care, no business. Or A, B, C, D, E. E would be other. Leave a comment. Yeah, how do you feel about Dollar's attempt at a hostile takeover of the much older competitor Access Financial? Leave a comment or take our poll. Our poll is on Twitter and also on YouTube in the community section, on the community tab of my YouTube channel. You can respond to tonight's poll question. So who are our analysts for this evening? I'm joined by Group Sovereign Research Analyst at JMMB, Theodore Mitchell. We also have founder and CEO of Profit Jumpstarter, Keisha Bailey, and personal finance and business analyst out of Guyana. Let's welcome Uni Abdul to the program. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, folks.
Theo, it's great to see you. Keisha, why you reach Jamaica when I'm not in Jamaica?
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, we need to try link up before you leave. And
yes.
Yeah, I should beg you to host the program for me tonight. You could have gone in the studio and all. And then Uni, I found you on TikTok a few weeks ago, making personal finance content out of Guyana. You guys go follow Uni. What's your page on TikTok?
Just at Uni Abdul.
at Uni Abdul. Wasn't it a Guyana something? You changed the name?
No, it's always been Uni Abdul. I might have had the flag in and out at some point.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Uni Abdul,
yeah.
YOUNIABDUL. You can find him on TikTok making personal finance content out of that country. Started out making a lot of investment content about about the Guyana Stock
Mhm.
Exchange. And then you kind of transitioned into doing more personal finance, helping people with budgeting and so on. We're going to talk a lot about the Guyana market a bit later on in the program. But first, let's start with Theodore Mitchell. So, Theo, we're looking at the high impact of inflation or the impact of high inflation in the US on the domestic economy's interest rate. So, tell us what is going on there with interest rates in the United States and how it's going to or has already impacted our pockets.
Okay, before it is that I get at the U.S. interest rates, you have to look at how it is that things have evolved locally.
Right.
Notably, you are seeing where it is that there are generally high prices, resulting in relatively high inflation locally. Consequent on that, the Bank of Jamaica has moved the policy rate over the last couple of months from a low of 0.5% to 6%. In the United States, we have seen where it is that interest rates, or rather inflation, is elevated. Last month came in at 8.5%. The Fed has increased its rate from 0.5% to 2.5%. Amid concern that inflation rate is high and they want to get it down. They have actually indicated the possibility of actually increasing rates again down the road so as to get inflation down to that 2% marker. Now, the concern for us here in Jamaica is that while our forecast internally is showing that inflation is likely to trend towards the BOJ forecast, our targeted range of 4 to 6%, good. That would mean that the BOJ now would be less concerned about inflationary impulse later locally. But on the big concern for them is that if the Fed is increasing rate, then what it spells is the likelihood of capital outflow from Jamaica into the United States. So if there's further rise in rates, you could see it could have a negative impact in terms of capital flow. So from that perspective, our view is that we're likely to see incremental increase in local rates so as to mitigate the risk of funds flowing outside of Jamaica into the U.S. market. Um, uh, uh, Arising from increased rates that side of the world.
Okay, and you wanted to add to that. So that's the local market. And now we also need to look at the international market, what the Fed is doing there. So, how are the two things related?
They are related in the sense that, as I pointed out, recall it is that inflation resides locally. So it is that the BOJ's new mandate is, controlling inflation. So it is that, we saw where it is that rates, as I indicated, move from 0.5% to 6%. Good. The Fed has done the same in terms of bringing down its rate. But, in terms of looking at country perspective, investors are oftentimes looking at where it is that they can get higher returns on their money. All right. If it is that you want to invest in the US, you'd look at what the US rate is, what the Jamaica rate is, and what the rate of depreciation is, and so on. Now, if it is a case where it is that you're seeing a fast rate of increase in terms of US interest rates, good, relative to the Jamaican interest rate, and the exchange rate is muted, then it may provide an opportunity to capitalize on that rate. Additionally, you have to think about the risk factor. The United States is a much lower risk economy relative to Jamaica. So, from that perspective, the rising rates, the lower risk, it may become relatively more attractive to some investors and funds flowing outward. So, from that perspective, BOJ now would be very concerned about funds flowing outside. That has implication in terms of its potential impact on the currency, right? If it is that funds are flowing outside, It means investors will demand more US dollars, which could result in volatility in terms of the local currency, and that too could feed into inflation because we purchase a lot of goods and services overseas, and if it is that the currency is depreciating at a very fast pace, it could filter through to the inflation numbers, and as such, BOJ, given its mandate, would want to keep that under wraps.
Speaking of interest rates, do you have an idea what the differential usually is between the BOJ's interest rate and commercial banks' lending rates? Because now that BOJ is at 6%, I feel like that's not very far from where the commercial banks are now, and I feel like we're going to start seeing a rapid escalation in those local lending rates very, very quickly.
No, the numbers are not in my head right now, but the truth is that there's normally a little, cushion between the two rates. What has been happening is that the banks are somewhat reluctant to pass on lending rate hike because of potential impact on their business. But if it is that the central bank continues to increase rates and the funding rates of the banks do go up, then you could see you're seeing it in some instances, right? Especially as it relates to the business side, but not so much on the consumer side. But if local rates continue to trend up, the cost to the banks in terms of their funding rates is going up. You will, at some point in time, you will see rates passing through to consumers. But a lot depends on the speed of adjustment from the central bank.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that the speed of adjustment from the commercial banks hasn't been faster because they've often been criticized for when interest rates go down, they are not as quick to follow, like they hold it for a while. And then we always say, but when it go up and when it benefits them, they are quick to do the same, to raise their rates. But they haven't done so, at least not yet. They have raised rates, but not at the speed. They haven't matched the speed with which the BOJ has raised interest rates. So we're going to be watching that keenly. Keisha, I'm coming to you now, introducing you with a comment from Natoya. Natoya said, Keisha, I didn't know you were so short. The youth said that show you up.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. I just short, right? Look about with Kalilah. A lot of people, when they see me in person, they're like, really? You're that short? I guess I look tall on camera.
How tall are you?
5'2".
Oh, yeah, you are in the Shelly Ann range.
Right.
You're a pocket rocket, don't worry.
Yeah, money rocket, It's very
money
strong.
rocket, yes. Money rockets, I like that. All right, so you're looking at the U.S. market from an investor's perspective as usual, particularly the Dow Jones, because we saw the Dow have an increase. They jumped 370 points. And then they are now on track for the third straight week of losses. So what's up with the Dow, Keisha?
So a lot of it ties into what Thea was saying earlier, because given what's happening in the U.S. economy, there's a lot of rate hikes. They keep happening. The rate hikes have an impact on the U.S. exchange rate because the U.S. is one of the top performing currencies this year, and everybody's buying U.S. dollars to invest it because you're getting a better rate of return. That now means on the inflationary side, it has the impact now on the stock market, because investors are saying, well, if everything is going up so much, input costs going up for these companies, what are they going to do in terms of profits? And they're panicking and selling the shares. That now is creating this downward pressure in stock prices, and it's been going on for some time. The summer was really good because a lot of people were on vacation, a lot of liquidity left the market, and so the market was trending up higher. But these are 3 weeks we've seen the resumption of that downward trend in stock prices. And, going into Q4 now, the last quarter of the year, we are really watching to see what is the Fed going to do. Can Jerome Powell really take a handle on inflation in the US and bring it lower? Because investors are all waiting to see what will happen. Are we going to see more rate hikes? Because that has implications for companies. And it have implications for our pockets, because what should we then do as investors? Everybody's watching that right now. And because there's so much uncertainty, a lot of investors have gone into cash, which is T-bills, money market instruments, because interest rates have been going up and they're getting better returns on these types of securities. And so they're selling stocks to buy money market securities or treasury bills. And that's what we see happening now. Will it change? We have to see what will happen in terms of, is inflation going to come under control? What's happening with China? Because we see they recently did a new round of lockdowns as well. What's that going to have in terms of impact on the global financial market? So we're waiting to see what that will do in terms of Q4.
Look into your crystal ball, Keisha. What are your predictions? And with the disclaimer, of course,
Cue it
that
up.
nothing here is intended as investment advice. This is for educational and information purposes only. How next part go? Past performance is not an indication of future performance and all that good stuff. Please consult your licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Even though Keisha is licensed, she's not your personal advisor unless you hire her to do a one-on-one consultation. So what are your predictions, Keisha?
So my take on it is that we will continue to see negative markets right now because so many negative factors are out there. The negative factors outweigh the positive. However, because things are so negative and investor sentiment, as they call it, is negative, the slightest bit of positive news that we call a white swan event, any form of positive news is going to have a really drastic impact on the international market. So I have my eye out on that. I expect more fall in prices. Of course, you can still make money when the market is going down. But in the event we see one of these white swan events, we need to take advantage of that as well. Persons always, they can be looking to make quality purchases at this time because there are some really good deals out there in terms of companies that investors are overreacting to and selling them down. It could be an opportunity for you to get in at really attractive prices that you haven't seen in a very long time.
All right. And that is now a good opportunity for us to introduce Uni. Welcome to Taking Stock, Uni.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Big up yourself. It's my pleasure to have you. Like I said, I found you on TikTok a few weeks ago. And Uni, guys, Uni is he's not a financial advisor or he's not affiliated with any firm. He's just a guy who, likes to talk about money, kind of like me. He invests on the Guyana Stock Exchange. Well, tell me, give us some background about yourself, Uni. How did you get into all of this?
Well, like you said, which is a perfect description, I'm just a guy. I do have a personal passion for finance from a very early age, and when, as you probably would have done yourself, I did my own studying and reading, and eventually where I end up finding myself to have a certain level of competency, and that's quite accidental, and coupled with the fact that I love to talk. So I just went on TikTok and, I spoke and my videos just got traction. And, here we are. Apparently people listen to me. And
yeah, you have a pretty decent following and your videos have been doing very, very well, like hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok. So people are paying attention, which is great.
Thanks. You're doing amazing. You're trailblazing the whole finance personality sphere in the Caribbean. I'm following you, so thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, so tell us about the investing climate in Guyana, and this is before we come to the whole oil environment. And you would have seen that story early on in the show about Guyana raking in 1 billion. I think it's 1.1 billion US dollars from oil this year. Before all of that, tell us about the Guyana Stock Exchange. How accessible is it and how liquid is it? Do people trade a lot on the GSC? I know it's only 1 day a week. It's open.
Right. So, as you guys probably have some familiarity with Guyana, even prior to, the whole news about oil in the last 4 to 5 years, Guyana's market is very, very young. There's not much activity. It trades once per week. Everything is still done by paper. There are not a lot of participants, even though market cap has been trending up over time. There's not much involvement on the part of the public. A lot of it is institutional investors. Still, I'd like to think. The government has made calls in the past to increase participation. Through my videos as well, a lot of people personally on their own would have taken the initiative to go and invest. But just to answer your question, it's still not a very mature market. We only have quite a few a number of companies trading. You may even see maybe 11 or 12 listed, but like only 7 are quite active. All right, so very, very fresh area. Obviously has a lot of scope, especially in the context of oil and gas, as you said, we'll get to in a little bit. So that's where it is. It is accessible. Anybody can invest.
All right. Theo says he wants to weigh in on the Guyana market. Theo?
Yeah, it's more than just the stock market, which I'm going to speak about, but Guyana's economy in general. It's a frontier economy in that prior to oil and gas coming on the front line, Guyana was, the second poorest economy in the Western Hemisphere. So this is indeed a game changer for them in terms of oil and gas. The economy expanded significantly in 2020, 2021, and is anticipated to grow upwards of, double digit into 2025. Now, the country is lacking in infrastructure. A large portion of the population reside in, the hinterland. So there are opportunities as it relates, not just to the stock market, but in terms of infrastructure, in terms of financing, and, helping the economy to thrive in this new dispensation. So for individuals who are interested, not just in the stock market, but in terms of participating in Guyana's economy because of the newfound opportunities that are present there, it is one of the countries which I think you can explore, as it is that there are a lot of opportunities that are abound, and there are the prospect is there for persons to actually make a profit from investing in the Guyanese economy.
Right, and I think the two are actually linked, Theo. I do believe that I do anticipate that we will begin to see increased activity on the Guyana Stock Exchange as a result of the increase in economic activity. We may see new listings following the Jamaica example, what has been happening here. We may see companies, regional companies from Jamaica, Trinidad, and elsewhere now entering Guyana and having a presence in that market. There's so many different angles that we can look at. But before we come to oil and gas, Ward 21 has a very simple question. He wants to know, Uni, how can we invest in the Guyana market?
Right. So really what you'd have to do is go and approach any of the brokerages in our country. We have about 4 main ones. You can check the Guyana Stock Exchange website, which is gasci.com, GASCI.com. And you'll go to brokers and you'll see who it is you can approach. And from there, obviously it's like setting up a bank account, the similar type of documentation and what's not, and you'll be able to get in.
Right. So it's fairly simple. And I do have a video, Ward 21, called How to Invest on the Guyana Stock Exchange. You can look it up. Just type in those very words and type in my name on YouTube and it will come right up. Or you can go on KalilahReynolds.com and you will find it as well. So let's look at the new economy of Guyana, Uni. So Theo made the point that prior to oil and gas, Guyana was the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. I'm guessing that's after Haiti. And that's not very good, to put it mildly, right? How has the discovery and the commencement of sale of oil and gas not only impacted the overall economy, because we know the government's making money, but impacted people on an individual level? Do you guys actually feel the impact of all this money coming in?
All right. So Guyana has popularly had a very challenging history. ethnically, politically coming in from the 40s, 50s throughout. Even as recently, you guys may have heard what took place in the last election. So
Right,
all
that,
those
that fiasco.
so all those things do underpin where we are currently. But I mean, those kinds of things are generally out of our individual control. So what does that mean ultimately with regards to investment? How does the oil economy impact the Guyana economy and the normal person? Well, I'd like to think about it as a tide. A tide has come into the shore. We have all the boats docked, and it's going to raise all the boats. But here's the paradox to that. For your boat to be raised, you got to have a boat. So people who would have had the instruments to participate in the economy, like businesses, private contractors, and so forth, obviously are getting first dibs, right? I mean, you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance. That's basically what it is. So what does it mean for the normal person? I mean, again, we've had, a situation where we've been lagging behind on individual development with regards to a few metrics, and everything in Guyana is basically I'm not going to say state run, but there's a big dependency on the population for public sector jobs. All right, a lot of the economy is driven by the public sector. We do have a burgeoning private sector within the last 15 to 20 years. Of course, participation there is still not where we'd like it to be. All right, so as the government receives oil economy, all right, that financial infrastructure in place to receive that money and disperse it is going to work on the non-oil economy sectors. And we've had reports, you've seen the reports probably. I think we had 36% GDP growth with almost 9% non-oil sector economy growth. And that's obviously going to filter down to the population. And hopefully, as things develop in the coming decades, everybody can get a boat to participate in the rising tide. So
I love
that's
how you said that so nonchalantly, Uni. 36% GDP growth. Say that again. 36% GDP
number
growth.
one in the world, I think. Which that's expected. The influx.
You just said that like a breeze, 36%. Meanwhile, Jamaica was here struggling to get 5 and 4, 5% growth. How many years now that has been the goal?
Right.
And just casually with that 36% GDP growth, no big deal. Expected. Oil
with regards, I think I probably didn't answer one of the other questions directly with regards to investment opportunities. You did mention the stock. We did mention the Guyana stock market, right? And how you can get into that. And you do have a video on that, and I'd recommend everybody look at Kalilah's video there as well. But with regards, I noticed on this call, I learned something new about Jamaica. You guys have a very strong financial services industry. I didn't know. I mean, I kind of had an idea, but I didn't know it was so vibrant. I mean, you guys have things like hostile takeovers and so happening. That's kind of unheard of. I mean, especially with our very young market. But what does it mean ultimately for Jamaican participation? We do have a lot of Caribbean conglomerates in Guyana. All right, like Massey, for example. Grace Kennedy is there. Guyana, the government of Guyana has a mechanism by which investors are welcome. Guyana is actually very open to investment, especially foreign investment. Right? It's no secret that we're hungry for investment. We will roll out the red carpet. I just want to say that informally, and you'll get any concessions as long the government's priority is really for jobs. Once you can provide jobs to the Guyanese people, you will get anything you want. And there's no secret about that. The agency that administers all of that is called Go Invest. So if you check on the internet, it will be goinvest.gov.gy. And they've listed 55 different areas of investment, that they would want people to come in. Of course, it's open to Guyanese as well, but it's mainly for foreign companies that they do a lot of interfacing with foreign companies. If you go on Go Invest website, you can see all the different areas that they can invest. They can give you concessions. They can facilitate discussions with various agencies to streamline things, recommend locations, give you strategic partnership as well. So just wanted to add that point in with regards to how Jamaicans and Jamaican companies in the financial services can partake.
Yeah, and you mentioned the hostile takeovers thing. So that same company, Dollar Financial, is
It's
in
in Guyana.
Guyana.
Yeah.
They have a location in Guyana, and I see
Yeah.
they also have a significant presence there on TikTok. TikTok, you guys, if you're sleeping on TikTok is a hot new platform. Trust me, not so new anymore, but the growth on TikTok, it really is taking off. It is not just dancing videos. It is a legitimate platform, and you can learn stuff. You can learn a lot of things over there. So I was asking you as well, Uni, about the impact on the individual person. So how does it impact you? Like, is it in terms of you seeing jobs being created, you're seeing more social spending? How do you feel impacted, or do you? Because I know another issue that you have in Guyana is corruption.
Right. So with regards to impact at the individual level, all right. Well, I did speak about if you have like a business that's already established, you're gonna get some of the money coming in as well as the economy heats up. With regards to individual persons that are working jobs, a lot of people are getting high paid jobs in the oil and gas sector. You know, like for example, like a very average salary in Guyana is about 500 US per month, and people in the oil and gas sector are raking in anywhere between 300 to 600,000 Guyana dollars per month, which is about maybe 3,000 US. So there is quite a lot of multiples up from what is standard. And how many people are in that oil and gas sector? Thousands of Guyanese. Of course, there's a range, right? Some people make less, some people make more. With regards to corruption, there has been a lot of internal efforts to implement safeguards, of course, from external pressures, just basic global regulatory bodies on corruption. However, with regards to what that means for business, you can still get a lot done. In my opinion, and I'm not an agent for the government, this is me talking. I don't really see how corruption would impede entry into the market for companies wanting to come in. All right. The situation is pretty level. There's a level playing field for companies, especially. So I think we're good on that. But of course, like everywhere that has corruption, we're making a lot of strides on it. Of course, that is a subjective assessment. Again, I'm not an agent, but this is me talking.
It wouldn't impede businesses starting, but it would impede, like, for example, the social spending. What is available for social spending? Politicians and teeth it out. There's a joke, and you look at countries like Nigeria, for example, very oil-rich countries, and they still have a whole bunch of issues, a lot of social issues. You'd think Nigeria would be one of the richest countries in the world because they have all this oil wealth, and it's not the case. I'll give you a joke, right? So I'm laughing at my joke before I even tell it. All right, so you had these three politicians: American, Asian, and Caribbean politician. The original joke was actually about an African politician, but let's call it a Caribbean politician, right? So they go to a conference. Every year they meet up at a conference in a different part of the world. So the first year they meet up in Asia, right? And the first year they meet up in America. All right, America first. And the American politician say, hey guys, takes them out on a field trip in his constituency. He's like, you see that bridge over there? 10%. I got 10% kickback from the bridge. Next year now they go to wherever in Asia. Asian politicians say, see that bridge over there? 30%. Next year now they come to Jamaica. The Jamaican politicians say, see that bridge over there? The other two say, which bridge? Get it? Michelle not get it? Michelle's not laughing.
The bridge isn't even there.
The Caribbean politicians say 100%.
Oh my God.
About all the money for the bridge. So yeah, that's a joke on corruption. Take bad thing, make laugh. So it really does have an impact. But Theo, you wanted to jump in on the personal, the individual impact that
Yes,
Guyana's new oil
actually,
economy
two
could have.
things rather, the stock market and the personal, right? Just to note, the viewers, right? Guyana is a small, what we call a frontier economies. The entities that are in the stock market are relatively small, and the risk level is very high. So that is something that you have to take into consideration. And as you said earlier, it is very important that you speak to your, your stockbroker and your investment advisor before you get into this sort of situation. Right. Having said that, now looking at how it is that oil economy is affecting the individual Guyanese. What I've seen in terms of looking at the numbers from the fiscal side is there's an increase in spending in terms of social support. And I am somewhat perturbed, in a sense that the government has not outlined a strategy in terms of how it is that it's going to develop the country utilizing the oil money. But we're seeing where it is that it is going into social support. It's all good and well, but you have to understand the nature of the Guyanese economy, that it is segregated along ethnic lines. Good, and the ruling party being mostly supported by the Hindu Guyanese population. So if it is that you're seeing significant flows from the government towards one side of the population, it could lead to increased tension. We have had the election issues during the pandemic. So that poses a bit of a problem to me, right? In that it is that the government has not outlined a strategy in terms of how it's going to develop the Guyanese economy beyond oil and gas. Yes, you have oil and gas, but it is that there's an other side to the Guyanese economy which I've seen decline over a number of years. The sugar sector is in decline. The agriculture sector is not doing so well in general, and it doesn't really have any industries. Good. So just spending that funds on social support without any proper, without outlining how it is that they are going to move the economy beyond the current level is concerning, and it has implication in terms of increasing expenditure. If it is that there's a decline in oil prices, it could have implication in terms of on the fiscal profile, and therefore it is that I would much prefer if it is that the government outlined clearly how it is that they're going to spend that resources over the coming period, and how it is that they're going to move the Guyanese economy beyond oil and gas so as to ensure that the development that is taking place in the country is sustainable.
Well, just with regards to the public disbursements and the issue of ethnic split, maybe the government hasn't outwardly communicated what that strategy is, but they definitely do have one. They've identified key areas where social needs can be met with financial disbursements, and I'd like to believe that's where you're doing it. With regards to if there's an ethnic split along where that money is being directed, I'd like to think that the government doesn't wake up one day and say, oh, they're only going to give to African people, or oh, they're only going to give to Indian people. That doesn't. I don't think any government, maybe the PNC government or PPP government, I don't think it's in their interest to do so, as they want to. They know that the population dynamics are changing, and maybe if that would have been done in the past, that can't work anymore. So I don't really think there's an issue.
Population dynamics are changing in what way, Uni?
Right, everybody is mixing. All right,
Wow.
we're in the last 20 years. It used to be that PNC was in government for an eternity, or PPP would be in government for eternity. In the last 15 to 20 years, the last 3 or 4 elections, who knows? Really, who knows? And that will guide the spending. I mean, I really do not think the government wakes up one day and say, oh, I'm only going to give to African or Amerindians or Portuguese or Indians. That is not a sustainable thing. However, those kinds of talks have been out in the media, but Guyana has a very polarized news. Everybody's in their own echo chamber, so everybody listens to their own, has their own source of information that may or may not be correct. With regards to how Guyana is going to sustain themselves, given that they found this new boom of oil, it is certainly, it is certainly true that Guyana is in for quite an influx of money, and the infrastructure initially was not there to receive that money and strategize exactly how it will be spent. But within the last 18 months, the Guyana government has received a lot of input externally, a lot of help and support, and they've even come out with their natural resource fund. The different boards and committees are already in place. Actually, as of last week, we have an investment mandate for the money. There's a committee that deals with that, all those billions of dollars. So the strategy is coming on board. Maybe it is a public communications failure on the government's part that none of that has really been, communicated, basically. But I'd like to err on the side of optimism. Again, I'm not an agent of Guyana. They don't pay me anything. I don't participate. I've never had any position. Maybe they should, as a person, finance something. But I'd like to think that's where it's headed.
Well, thank you so much, Uni. It's been great having you on the show. It's been a really rich show. So I agree with Ingrid, who is one of our viewers. Ingrid said, taking stock today is really informative and the discussions are very interesting. Thanks, Ingrid. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Theo. Is Theo? Yes. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today. And you guys, you can follow all our guests. Make sure that you follow Uni Abdul at Uni Abdul on TikTok, and he has really great perspectives on Guyana and information about personal finance. You can also follow at Profit Jumpstarter on Instagram. Oh, why did this come up like this? That wasn't supposed to be a ticker. Anyway, yeah, follow at Profit Jumpstarter on Instagram. And of course, you can find Theodore Mitchell there at JMMB. Thank you, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with the wrap.
This segment, The Analysts, was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers.
Hey, money makers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilahReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money. Oops, sorry. Let's get this money. And so we got the new merch coming out soon, LGTM. Let's get this money in the black and the gold. Reminding you as well that you can use the promo code LAUNCHMONEY for a 20% discount on the Investing for Beginners Masterclass. We got some new stuff launching in October, November, December. Lots of plans. And remember, I'm here at FinCon in Orlando, Florida. If you are in the area and you have an interest in personal finance content creation, this is the place to be, and I'd love to meet you, even if you don't attend the conference. Is it Ingrid? Who is it? We have a viewer who is in Orlando who always says tuning in from Orlando. So if you're nearby, you can drop by the Orlando, how is that place name? The Marriott Orlando World Center, something like that. Can drop by and send me a DM. Let me know what time you're coming by. I would love to meet my viewers here in Orlando, Florida. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the newsletter at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. I have a new document coming out on Patreon in a few days as well. This is going to be one that can help you to manage your credit card debt. Specifically, a video will be dropping about that, explaining how the document works, how you can use it to help you manage your credit card debt. And that is dropping first for Patreon subscribers. So make sure that you go to patreon.com/KalilahRay. And we also have Biz Talk with the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, MIC, dropping on Thursday. This is a 6-part video series coming out on YouTube and Instagram on my pages, and of course in the email newsletter as well. So you can look out for that feature, Biz Talk with the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, starting this Thursday, this and every Thursday for the next 6 weeks. And a few other things coming out soon as well. Make sure you check them out. And for now, also reminding you to follow me on social at Kalilah Ray, at KRM_business news. Any other page you see using my name is a fake page. Please report it. Fake news, fake page. In the words of Donald Trump, please report and block those pages when you see them come up. I only have my personal official one and the KRM_business news pages. So thank you so much for tuning in. Yet another week. I appreciate your presence here. We've gone long today. It's already 9:30, but it was absolutely worth it. I loved hearing from Uni and the perspective from Guyana. That's a conversation I've been wanting to have, and I want to go to Guyana like next year and do a special feature there on Guyana's oil economy. So we're going to make that happen. We're speaking that into existence. Until next week, guys, let's get this money. Remember to like the video. Like it, share it, comment.
Let's get this money.